Good evening, folks. Welcome along to another edition of the Irish Rally Podcast in association with PFT Travel, Tech and Tools, Rally Connection, SVS Productions, Lines of Limerick, and Hiravan. The latter two we welcome on board, and thanks to Keith Lyons for offering his support to the podcast up until the end of the year. We released an episode on Friday, a very special episode, the latest edition of The Whole Person with Tony Kelly. She sat in beside Andrew Nesbitt for a trip around some of Andrew's favourite stages in Donegal. So basically we took carpool karaoke, put a bit of a twist on it, and it's a fantastic story. There's about 8 hours of an edit cut down to about an hour and 50. We just couldn't take any more off it. It was really that good. So if you haven't had a look at it yet, it's over on our YouTube channel. And if you'd rather just listen in, obviously we're on Apple and on Spotify. This evening we're live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube. We'll be looking back on the Cork 20. We'll be chatting with Shane Barry and John Doherty in about 15 minutes' time. Kevin O'Riordan will be along as well as we chat through the sequence of events with the Cork 20. And Mr. Anthony Nestor should be on standby. But our first port of call is to chat to this gent who, alarmingly, I suppose, in one sense, we had a chat with before Galway, and we labelled him as a dark horse for Class 14 and the modifieds. And lo and behold, he goes and does just that, takes the modified championship at the weekend. That's Eddie Doherty. Eddie, good evening. Welcome along.
How's it going, Kevin? Thanks for having me on.
Well, look, firstly, congratulations. I suppose the one thing that struck me straight away was the words that you used in that interview back in February. I asked you something along the lines of, what would it take for you to make the step this year and become modified champion, I suppose, Class 14 champ? And you say consistency. And if you look at the whole team of results across the year so far, that has literally been it in a nutshell. I suppose you couldn't have executed the plan to any greater degree, really.
Yeah, look, I suppose when we set out, that was the main plan, was to finish every event, and touch wood so far this year, between the car and I suppose ourselves inside in the car, we finished every event that we've entered. So I suppose it's not just down to me, it's down to the lads then that prepared the car, Tom as well. There's a big team effort. So no, we're absolutely delighted with the end result. And even outside the championship then as well, on some one-day rallies as well, we showed good speed as well. So no, all is good.
Yeah, and I suppose the other thing is there's a few notable results in events outside of the Tarmac Championship. So Laois Heartlands is something obviously that must have been a big boost. I suppose we should probably take it back to the end of last year. Like, you know, I mentioned at the time in February, going down to Faheen, I suppose, and taking the sprint with good competition there. That seemed to put a bit of a pep in your step, like, and you carried that forward with you. Would it be right and accurate in saying that?
Yeah, look, it definitely did. That gave some bit of confidence. And then I suppose going into Killarney Historics then in December, then that was our main kind of aim for last year. I would have had good enough knowledge of Killarney, and I think from even on Maw's Gap on the first stage, I think we're third fastest up it. So yeah, look, I suppose in every type of sport and everyone, like, you have to, like, you grow on confidence, and I suppose the thing that gave us confidence throughout the whole year was us finishing each event and growing step by step. And sure, that's where I kind of ended up in then.
Yeah, and I suppose finding the sweet spot between being on the pace and not stepping the mark is something that you probably found this year, like, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I kind of wanted, was to see what the pace was like and where everyone else was at. Like, even the weekend there, like, it was tough enough just to stay at a pace and not do anything too stupid either at the same time. So I think on the first stage, I think we were 8 seconds fastest modified, and then we knew we could step it back a small bit and try just continue on. And lucky enough, like, we got there in the end.
Yeah, for sure. And a good hustle, I suppose, with Frank at the weekend. You seem to enjoy that anyway. Obviously, you had your moments or whatever, as did Frank, as we could see on the driver's side, which is probably a little bit unusual. Usually it's on the other side, of course, but you did seem to enjoy the whole thing as it panned out. Like,
Yeah, like in fairness to Frank, I think he's after putting up his pace a lot this year, and nearly every rally we've nearly done, Frank has been there as well. I suppose if he could stop the little bit of bowling that he's doing lately, if we'd be okay with chicanes. But no, look, we've good, yeah, like we've good crack everywhere we go. So and that's the joys of modified rallying as well at the same time.
yeah, and I suppose just on that, like considering the big off that Frank did have up on the circuit, like the way he's turned things around, he's been, back on the pace. Because like even I'd say, admittedly by his own admission, I suppose last year the pace might not have been as good as it has been since the accident. So wherever it is, it seems to have nearly spurred him into life. I don't know, has it calmed him down there a bit, but he's certainly putting in the times.
Yeah, no, I don't think he'll ever calm that man down. But no, he's definitely put in the times. You could see it every rally, and like he's getting better and better. Like even like he went to Leash and he was third overall, and I don't even think he done a recce. I think he was up painting the fence on Saturday at 5 o'clock, and he decided to go down to the rally on Sunday. So I know he's definitely a savage man for the sport and a great ambassador for the sport then as well.
Yeah, for sure. And sure, look, the crowd that he draws and stuff, but the crowd that you all draw. I mean, even with this podcast, whenever I have the modified boys on together, the figures are just astounding. The love that people have for what you guys do in particular is outrageous. Like, and it's obviously something you probably notice as well, is it?
Yeah, it is. Like even hearing some people on the ditches and stuff like that, they said they'd love seeing the escorts or the starlets or the twin cams or whichever coming down the road before they see an R5 car. I suppose it's the sound more than anything else. Same as myself, we were testing for Donegal, and I stepped out of the car and someone else was testing, and just to see the speed the escorts and stuff are going down the road. Even for us, when you see it on the side of a ditch, it's fairly hairy.
Yeah, and I suppose when you're in that position, you probably don't. Obviously, when you're behind the wheel, you're going pretty quick, but it's probably not until you're out in a ditch and you see someone going of a similar speed, you're like, fuck, that's fair trucking, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like inside in the car, I suppose if you go back to some of the say the TT race or some of that, I know they say that everyone just slows down, and it's kind of something similar inside of a rally car. You just you're just calm and you're trying to make everyone all you're thinking about is the next corner. Like so, no, but yeah, I just that kind of stood out for me when I were testing for Donegal. It just like the speed that we're traveling at is it's something special.
Yeah. What was Donegal like for you? I think that was your first time doing it, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was. It was tough, I must say. Trying to learn all these different stages and trying to gauge yourself against people that have been at it with years. Even say like the likes of Frank or anyone else that's been there. Like I knew that we weren't going to be at the pace, but look, the main thing was the finish. And in fairness, we got there.
Yeah. What else do you think about those stages that, I mean, different rallies and different stages do suit different drivers, obviously. And maybe there's just, I don't know, maybe a lot of that is psyche, but a lot of it is obviously experience too and a bit of know how and stuff like that. But, Donegal just seems to bring craziness in terms of pace, and even for guys that have done it for years or whatever, like you see Matt Edwards then maybe last year or whatever and coming over and putting in the times that he put in. Like, what is it about Donegal in particular that seems to be able to do that? It seems just so niche, like.
Yeah, I suppose it's just the full experience from the moment you land there. The crowds, the people, everyone wants to be on their best performance as what they can. And I suppose, but I think you do need to be there a couple of years before you get on the pace. Like you just spoke about Matt, but I think Matt is probably an exception to that. Like in fairness, on, but for us, we just wanted to get through it as best we can and be in somewhere. Like if we said at the start of the rally to be in the top 5 in the modified in the first time there, and I think like we ended up in fourth. So no, we're happy enough with it.
Mm-hmm. And just in terms of the guys that are keeping the whole show on the road, like we mentioned, that consistency, and that comes down to machinery as well as the way that you're driving. So who's doing all the looking after there, be it on the day, be it beforehand, and name them there and shame them.
Yeah, so it's Arley Autosport and MPL Rally Hire that are looking after the car. So it's Ryan Loughran, Mick Bradley, Rory Loughran, Owen, Zach, Kaylee for the food. There's a big team there, like in fairness, but in fairness, we have no issues with the car really. Small few niggly things, but it's a rally car at the end of the day, and we finished every rally. I think we've done 12 rallies this year, and we finished every one of them. So it's a credit to them, especially with an Escort that's not a factory car, and as well at the same time. So all I can say to them is thanks very much, and hopefully we can continue on with it for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. And is there any moments in particular that stick out for you across the season so far?
I suppose Laois is definitely probably the highlight of it. To get your first overall win was a big one. Another one then was just in the local rally racing Rob Duggan. That was another one. To be on that kind of pace and to be comfortable enough. Then same again with Im McGilly. Probably myself, I was feeling ill on the day then as well at the same time, but we still managed to get second overall. So there's a lot of highlights. Like you could probably say it's been a perfect year, but there's a lot of work and effort that went into it as well at the same time.
Yeah. And like what type of work do you do, Ed, do you mind me asking, in terms of like are you big into fitness and stuff, or are you one of those guys that just rocks up and goes about your business? What works for you? What's the secret recipe for you?
I'd probably be more into the fitness than some of the rest of the modified lads, all right. But wouldn't be like Gary Kieran getting a fag and a Red Bull in the hand and going again. But I try to do a lot if I can. Probably 3 or 4 times a week. Probably a lot of video work as well. Trying to look at pace notes as best I can. Car 20 was the first time we wrote our own pace notes. So every rally we're trying to pick something and just go a bit further and see what way we can bring it. But probably the pace notes is probably the biggest thing. Probably before the rally, probably maybe 2 or 3 nights a week.
That's interesting that you opted to do that on the weekend that was in it with so much at stake as well. I mean, did you put much kind of thought into that? Obviously, yeah.
Not really. We done recce the weekend before. We actually bought the notes off Killian Duffy as we normally did. Went through halfway through the first stage, and myself and Tom looked at each other and said, "Sure, look, it's probably the right time to try it." Like we knew that Gary wasn't coming and Jason wasn't coming, so all we had to do was finish, and we kind of thought it as a 2-day rally. It was probably the perfect chance to try to right our own.
Yeah, and sure, didn't do any harm on you.
No, it didn't. No, I didn't. But look, I suppose it was probably more of a mental thing to try to get into your head to try to trust your own things. But in fairness, once we got into the first kind of second or third stage, there was no issue at all. So.
Yep, happy days. And just in terms of the rest of the year, now that a lot of graft is done, have you anything else kind of in the pipeline?
We're going to Belgium in 3 weeks' time for Escort Rally Special. So
Deadly.
that's the main aim at the moment. Just that'll be a bit of a holiday and a bit of a crack. Frank is going, Chris O'Callaghan's going, I think Ed O'Callaghan's going, Jack Newman maybe. So there should be a good few Irish over
there. Yeah, grand time affair it's a.
as always.
Yeah, no, that'll be mighty stuff. I believe it's an experience now to say the least. I suppose as it was or it is Finland that we seen at the weekend, and a lot of our crews did well. Ed, in fairness, should give probably a shout out to John Kine in particular. 73 finishing the rally is unreal. Like to even get to do the rally is one thing, but to bring her home, it's a tricky one. So yeah, I think 2 things definitely on the bucket list. The Rally Legend and the Finland Rally. I don't know. Have you been over at those 2 previously?
No, I was never at them before. But no, definitely something I'd like to get onto the bucket list now.
Yeah, that's it. We'll try to get a few all together and maybe go to it. Yeah. Hey, look, I leave it at that. Very well done again, and enjoy the celebrations and best luck for the rest of the year. And thanks for having a chat with us. All right.
Okay. Cheers. Thanks, Kev.
Thanks a million. There you go, Eddie Doherty, Class 14 champion in the Tarmac Championship, Southern 4 as well. And I think there's one more that's just eluding me off the top of the head now. I'm going to bring us over to Shane Barry and John Doherty, who should be on standby. Gents, how are we doing?
But to put the hats on there,
You're in the thick of it, lads.
Well, we're in the kingdom anyways. We made it thus far.
Good stuff. So tell me what day are we on? And I suppose a bit of background into the story. I think a lot of people will probably know at this stage, but for those maybe who haven't, guys, have a chat to us here about it all.
Day 11, is it?
I think it's day 11 now.
I think day 11. I think
Oh,
Self and
got rid of
John
the voice, I
are.
we're back. Yeah.
We're back. Hello.
Yeah, go on ahead. You're back with us.
Yeah. Myself and John are riding 2 horses from Donegal to Dingle in memory of my daughter, Aria Rose. We're raising money for Ronald McDonald House and Keen's Kennels, 2 charities that'll be close to the heart.
Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. So we've put the link into the description. It should be gone out on Facebook and YouTube. If not, we'll stick it back out later on. But this is just a remarkable story that you've taken upon yourselves to do this. And Shane, I suppose it seems like a case of you just wanting to give a little bit back for 2 organizations who did so much for you. Is that the nuts and bolts of it?
Yeah, that'd be it. This was actually in the pipeline before Aria passed away, so it was something we had thought about, and then we decided we'd go ahead and do it. So here we are. We're in Curry now. So
we're stuck in the middle of it.
So John just got dragged along for the spin.
Yeah. And I mean, do you know what? Right, it's a super cause. I really admire your stance, and I suppose how you've taken this situation, and I suppose chosen to make good of it as well. But in the midst of it all, over the last 10 or 11 days, I'm sure it's been quite emotional. But you're after having great fun, I would say, no doubt too.
Oh yeah, look, it's been, I suppose, as John says, it's been a trip of a lifetime.
Definitely, 100% trip of a lifetime. Whilst doing good as well for the people around you.
There's been so much generosity, and the people have come out, and no matter where we went, we've been fed and looked after. We're here in Streamside Stables tonight in my van there.
Everyone say hello.
Oh! Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. Yeah. So look, obviously lots of support. You set a target. I think was the target 10 grand, and we've surpassed that anyway. I think it's just up around 13 nearly at the minute.
I think we're just close to the 13,000 now. We're hoping to raise as much as we can, but it'd be nice. The more we can raise, the better, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I think we're up around the 13,000 at the minute. And
what's it been like? Many irate drivers or anything giving you a bit of lip or the honk of a horn or anything?
We've had most of them have been okay. We've had one or two.
95% of them are good. You get the 1 or 2 idiots that just don't understand animals and that they have a mind of their own. And if you spook them, you just don't know. They could be unpredictable. But 95% of them have been great. So we've had to come a long way there, and we can say it's been positive from the top of Ireland down as far as the kingdom of Kerry we're in now.
It's fair going, lads. How much plotting and planning was actually on this before you took off? Obviously, there's a serious itinerary to look after.
Well, there's 2 different sides to this now. My type of planning and Shane's type of planning. Shane plans a lot in his head, and I would have to plan a lot on paper. And we've had a few conflicting stories at round tables at night there, drinking cups of tea. He'd be like, we're sorted on the way, and I've no, we're sorted now. But Shane's way has been working so far, so we're doing not too bad, I have to give it to him. When we get into a pickle, he's on the phone, and it's sorted within 30 minutes, and we're on our way again. From roadside assistance. I've never had roadside assistance to fix a shoe on a horse before, but it's normally a tire or something. But look, it's all new to me. But
that's great. That's super
stuff.
Go on ahead, Shane.
We have a big team behind us. So we couldn't have done this without everybody, between blacksmiths, vets,
horse owners,
Tracy, especially Tracy. She's keeping us safe on the roads.
Yeah, keeping all the lunatics away from our back door.
But yeah, we're going well, and hopefully we'll get to Dingle on Friday now, and we're nearly there.
You have a fair bit done already, in fairness. Now look, I may or may not have been informed about a little tumble. Did we take a little tumble at one stage there over the past day or two? And we won't name any names, but I'd say you'll figure it out fairly lively now who we might be talking about that told me this now.
Oh, John's brake stuck on there.
I'll tell you, there's better brakes in a horse than there is in a Mark II Escort when it's going into a tight corner. Let me tell you. And I found out the hard way how to build a few sandcastles when I was down. But look, I got back up fairly sharp.
Yeah, and you're back. You're literally back on the horse again, as the fella said. Yeah. Lads,
Oh,
I think
straight up. There's a woman taking a camera out now back on the horse before she could take a picture.
there's always someone around with one of them, isn't there? Guys, look,
There's always someone with a camera.
I'm delighted that you've taken the opportunity to come with us tonight. I wish you the very best luck, and all I can say is, anyone out there, the link is, as I said, gone out with our Facebook post and YouTube there as well. Any spare few bob, just put it towards this. It's for Ronald McDonald House and Keen's Kennels, and obviously, boys, it's unbelievable what you're doing. So the very best luck, and thanks for having a chat with us. All right.
Thanks a million.
Thanks for having us. Hey, cheers, lad.
Take it easy, guys. Yeah, Shane Barry and John Doherty there on horseback from Donegal down to Dingle. Yeah, fair play to the guys. Unbelievable stuff there. And again, a reminder of the important things in life, folks. When all is done and dusted, when all the rallying is done and dusted and everything, it's a timely reminder of what truly is important. To bring it back to the Cork 20, Kevin O'Riordan should be backstage. Kev, there we are. What's the story?
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Now, I have an icon here that says Anthony Nestor, but I don't see a video. I'm just going to see how we audio. Anthony Nestor, can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
Oh, Jeannie, the voice hasn't got any better, obviously.
No.
Oh, he's gone altogether there. Yeah, there's definitely a misfire there anyway.
Jeez, yeah, he's been suffering a lot there with the last 2 weeks, I think, or 3 weeks actually, with his voice. It's amazing that he was able to do the event at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I did pick up that on the stream the other day. He might be just back there now. Anthony, you back with us?
Yeah, I can. For whatever reason, I can't seem to get the camera to work, whether that's at this end or whether it's at your end. It's probably at my end. Edit name, remove from stream, edit audio avatar, stop mic and cam. Let's try this.
Yeah, sure. Look, wherever it is, we can hear you anyway. That's
no matter. Hello, Kevin O'Riordan. Have you recovered?
Slowly but surely, we're getting there. We're getting there. Body's a bit tired now, I'd have to say.
I'd say no, that's a fucking understatement.
Well, Anthony, thanks a million for coming on. I did, as I said, I was saying to Kevin there, I could hear you on the stream Saturday and could tell fairly clearly they were under the weather and under a bit of pressure. You don't sound a whole lot better. I don't like to put it to you that way, but he doesn't sound much better. So I don't know, will we leave him alone? But he's jumping in and out with the podcast here now, is that whatever's going on? You're back with us, yeah.
I don't look any better either, so don't worry about the fucking don't worry about the camera. I don't know, it says start.
Yeah, sure, look, it's not working out anyway. Whatever's happening there, he's jumping and two in the front. Kevin, is it at a stage where you've now, I suppose, got the opportunity to, well, I put it, breathe a sigh of relief, or to maybe just come back down to earth a little bit?
Sure, it was a mental weekend, really, to be honest with you. Tiredness is I don't think I was ever so tired after a rally, actually, to be honest with you. There was very little sleep over the weekend, and I suppose we're only just taking stock now, really, of the way things ran for the weekend, and I suppose ultimately panned out, which is well documented. I'm quite sure now was an unfortunate end to the rally, which is disappointing from us, from an organizer side of things, and most especially disappointing for the competitors. There was a big finale on the cards, and unfortunate circumstances arose that prevented that happening, which was disappointing. We lost a number of stages on Sunday, which we hate doing. We hate losing stages, and I suppose that's the nature of the game. Having had a faultless day really on the Saturday, every stage ran perfectly. It was just disappointing the way things kind of turned in on its head in the following day. But I suppose, look, a lot of these things are outside of our control. We can't do anything about it. So the nature of the game, unfortunately. But overall, it was the feedback from competitors for the event has been fantastic. It's nothing but praise. They all love the stages, the service area, the organization in general. They're all happy out, and in the main part, it was good weather for the weekend, but it took a nasty turn, obviously, Friday night, and I was actually up at 5 o'clock on Saturday morning, and my phone rang at 6 a.m. from the stage commander of the first stage to give a report that the stage was dust driven and it was clear and everything was good to go. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was getting pictures of trees down blocking the stages and everything. And there was scrambling for chainsaws and tractors and God knows what. And I think they managed to get it cleared. Phenomenal effort, like phenomenal. And I think that we started 3 or 4 minutes late only where it could have started hours late. Like it was fantastic effort, like, and difficult conditions for the first one because of the dampness, but dried up after that. And they all loved the Saturday stages. There was ferocious praise there for it, like, so. That was, yeah, to listen. It was a great event. As I said, it was just disappointing, I suppose, the way things finished up in the end. That there was an off on the last stage, which subsequently ended up losing the stage and the battle for the overall lead. But I suppose these are the things that are outside of our control, unfortunately. But just disappointing that in that respect, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you're always honest and forthright when you come on this podcast, and have never shied away from anything, be it good, bad, or indifferent. But the feedback that I've been hearing anyway, in terms of the whole weekend was positive. A state of the art, I suppose, service setup. Competitor friendly. Mileage wise, pretty sound. Serious bang for buck in terms of stage mileage. Ticked all the boxes. Obviously, we probably should start with the lead up, like, and it's never something you like seeing when an email has to be circulated to try and encourage a few more entries. Whenever you hear all the effort that has gone into it, I suppose, what you've set up, and then it just doesn't seem to be reciprocated. And I think it was a Frank Kelly in particular saying, I can't get my head around why people aren't coming to this event. Is there anything that you can think of off the top of your head, maybe that's...
Well, firstly, with that letter, I was actually out of the country when that letter was sent out, and my phone lit up suddenly with copies of this letter, and I was like, what the hell? But anyway, that's another day's work. Yeah, we don't know. A lot of people are saying the date is a problem, which I possibly agree with, to be honest with you. We moved to that date, as you know, there this time last year, which was part of the new 24-month calendar. And look, I suppose there was always, a level of fear about the date, but we said we'd stick with it because that's the date we were given. And in fairness to Motorsport Ireland, they're trying to make the calendar a good even spread. Like, it would appear this year, it just didn't seem to work at all. It was not great last year, but we said we'd stick with it. And the entries were very slow coming in, very slow. And then this suddenly took off. I think actually at one stage we were up to I don't know, was it 118 entries or something like that? And then they just stopped dropping off. And like the last week, there was a lot of dropouts. And I suppose that's the frustrating thing about it. You go beyond a certain point where you just have to keep going. And, when you get the late dropouts, then it's gone past the point of no return. Like, so you just have to keep going. And look, I don't know why competitors, didn't enter the rally. Like, we laid on everything. We even put on a shakedown stage on the Friday evening, which turned out to be very popular. There was about 3 hours of solid action. I think there was no stoppage in the whole 3 hours. That was very popular. And then we had good maximum mileage. I think we had 236 kilometers originally, but we had to shorten the stage due to a council surfacing issue. So we had about 230 kilometers, 15 stages, all good driver, fast, challenging stages. The whole thing was based below in the Cork Event Centre, lock, stock and barrel, which competitors seem to think was a great idea. Took a lot of setup right now, setting up park firms and all this kind of stuff. But it was actually a fantastic atmosphere down there because everything was based there. And look, I suppose we just didn't get the entries. We started on Saturday morning with 72 cars and a further 9 juniors on Sunday morning, which was 81 cars in total. And that's obviously disappointing, to be honest. Why fellas are just not doing it, don't know. We've wrecked our heads trying to change things up and mix things around. Even with the historics there, we said we'd try something different this year, and thought look, I suppose it was a semi-controversial decision and became even more controversial after the last stage, I suppose. But that didn't seem to reap the benefits either. Look, the date is, I suppose, it's a holiday weekend, and people do seem to have an issue with the date. So we'll have to see what can be done on that. Like, but it's disappointing, I suppose. Yeah, there's not to it. It's deflating when you put so much time and effort into it to get that. But look, at the end of the day, there was 81 people entered and started the rally, and it was up to us, incumbent on us, to put on a good show for them because they supported the event, and we're always grateful for any entry we get, like so. And it was a great, whereas we might not have had a quantity of entry, we had a fantastic quality of entry, which is great and very heartening, like so. And as I said, the feedback, I've had no negative feedback anyway from the event so far. I'm sure there is obviously qualms and concerns out there, whatever, but and we'd welcome anyone who has an opinion or a grievance or whatever. We'd always welcome feedback, like be it good or bad, you know. But overall, look, it was a great event. As I say, things went a bit small, bit pear shaped on Sunday with various issues, but that's rallying. You can't plan for that, like so.
Yeah, look, I have an awful lot of empathy. I'm not going to say sympathy, but definitely empathy or whatever, and about kind of the situation or whatever. But you've done everything you can. The thing about the holidays, like, I mean, people will say probably the Rally Lakes is a bank holiday. They'll say West Cork is it the fact that it's literally, we'll say, the old school builders holiday time, that you're looking at a summer holiday rather than
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. No, look, there's other competitors who've said to me that the only reason they were doing the rally was because it was on the bank holiday weekend. So, but I think in the norm, in the general, it doesn't seem to suit people the date. So,
yeah. Is it fair to bring in the LMC next weekend? I know it's a 1-day event or whatever, but like you see the raft of entries that has come in for that, and you could argue, I suppose, that's maybe on the second week of the builders' holidays or in around that kind of parish anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly didn't make us feel that great on Friday evening at 2:00 when they released an entry list of 160 while we were looking at starting 72 cars in the morning. And look, I suppose the 1-day thing, people for the 1-day format, I suppose it suits a lot of people's schedules and their lives and whatever. Like, I suppose the frustrating thing about the AMC entry list is there's a good few people on that entry list who had entered the Cork 20 and withdrew in the last week or two before the event. So, what, what, we have no answers really, to be honest.
Well, I think Anthony's actually joined us again. Hopefully we get him back this time. Anthony, you're back with us, I believe. You're on the phone, are you?
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong. That phone is going there all day. Or that computer.
You're sounding better on this phone anyway, that's for sure.
It couldn't fucking sound any worse than the other one.
I don't know if you've heard what we're talking about, Anthony, or if you have any thoughts there.
No, I couldn't. Because I was swapping over sadly too. What are we on about? Why?
Well, look, we'll basically
the event and the turnout.
Yeah, I suppose we started with the numbers and maybe the reasoning behind.
I think a lot of people, and I know Kevin and myself have spoken about this over the weeks. You would say to yourself, if you went back 5 years ago, that the August weekend to have an international rally on was gold dust, ideal. West Cork runs on Paddy's weekend. Circuit has ran on Easter historically. The Rally the Lakes runs on the May bank holiday weekend. So you would say to yourself, yeah, that's the only ingredient we were missing. Previously, obviously, the Cork 20 was on October. Obviously, with global warming and everything else that's going on, the weather has deteriorated in October. So it's not a month that people like wheeling out nice cars and going out in the wick and wet, muck and misery. So that was tried and tested. So the only issue I think now is obviously since COVID, I think people, including rally people, everybody reevaluated how they spend their free time. I think there's a lot more focus now on families. There's a lot more focus on family time. And I think the rally probably suffered because of that. I said it on a post there recently, about a couple of weeks back, on what you call it, of all them, without naming all the other events, but it's up there as one of the top 3 events. I'll give you an example. What event do you get a shakedown on? Very few. What event do you get free map books on? I've gone to events that paid £100 sterling for those map books. So you get everything. Everything is as it should be. I think on this occasion, it's just the date needs a slight tweak. What I think is disappointing as a competitor, and I know people have their reasons, but I would just ask competitors in the future if you're doing it. I got the gist of something Kevin said, and I hope I'm picking this up right. He mentioned reaching the point of no return. if competitors start pulling out of a rally at the last minute, I'm assuming that's what you were talking about.
Yeah.
The club is committed. They've lost their nuts at this stage. And if you put it this way, every 3 people that pull out at the grand apiece, they're down another 3 grand. Every 5 at the left, leave it at 5. So if 10 people pull out, they've lost 10 grand. I don't know how many pulled out, like. But if you leave it to the last minute, that like the week before, and they say, we won't go, we'll go to play golf in Lahinch or something, you're leaving the club swinging, because they're gone so far and committed at that point. Whereas if you decided 3 weeks earlier, look, we won't bother going, we won't bother putting in the entry, well, at least it gives the club an option to make a decision, lads, we'll pull the pin on this, because this is going to break us. Like. So by leaving it to the last minute, you're giving the club no out. They are now committed. They can't stop then. Like, they're gone too far into the whole thing. Like, I feel sorry for Kevin O'Riordan, and I think half the country does as well.
And can I ask, as a competitor, then, your feedback across the weekend? It seems to be largely positive, but what was it like, I suppose, for yourself?
You want my feedback for Kevin?
Yeah.
Can.
Drive on.
You can't be fucking serious. Is it your ratings you want to go up or something? Really? Jeez. Right. What you want? The good stuff now or the bad stuff?
All of it.
All of it. Yeah. The same as we always get.
We'll go with the bad first, all right? Because the voice might break, just in case it does. Like, I don't know.
That is clarity, of course, Anthony, isn't it?
And I know Kevin O'Riordan quite well, right? So I know this is not his fault, nor is it the club's fault. But this I don't get. I done a bit of checking back through old road books. Can't say safety plans, because I probably shouldn't have had half of them, right? So we were looking at old road books. West Cork Rally this year had 127 bales in situ. Cork Forestry next weekend, 64 bales out in the stages to protect it. Imokilly, 100 bales. Cork 20, 303. Now, we know rallying is a high risk sport, but to all the safety geniuses above in Motorsport Ireland, you cannot wrap a fucking stage in cotton wool, lads. There's a limit. There's a limit, and when you pass that limit, it's now stupidity. But putting go another way. Kevin had enough of grief without paying for 303 bales at 20 quid a piece. Someone do the math, as Yank would say. Do the math on that.
Some of them were 55 quid a bale.
You serious? Oh, sweet. Am I right on my figure? 303.
Yeah. I thought it was 310 actually, but you could be right.
All right, but don't matter. They were probably the ones that got hit. Now, that's, as I said, I know it's not Kevin. All I would spit to the powers that be, lads, catch yourselves on, because that's stupid. There was a lot of complaints of where they were put inside in the braking areas. So in the dry, Saturday, thank God, lovely rally. On the wet, turns into carnage, because you have braking areas and then you have a bale out 100 feet in front of it. But that was my only negative. Service area, actually, to make you laugh, you would tell anyone, where did you service? A cattle mart. Where was the headquarters? A cattle mart. It sounds all wrong, doesn't it? This place is like a 5-star hotel. You would not see, I swear to God, lad, you put Hilton up outside the door and said the Cork Mart, you'd pull it off. Like, what a venue. I mean, any club would give their right testicle to get this place. Like, it's fabulous. It's amazing. I used to go to dog shows there years ago. And fabulous venue. And the people, I met some of the people of the mart. I probably just looked fucking old and dopey, but I was walking out the door and I was kind of thinking, and my voice and my throat was sore. And this gentleman came up to me to know, was I okay? And did I need anything? I was saying, Jesus, it's like going into the shop. Do you want your shopping brought to the car? Have I reached that point in my life? Like, and but it turned out he was one of the people from Cork Marts. But they were just so helpful.
They're incredible in the marts. No matter what you ask them, what additional thing you want, nothing is a problem. Like they're fantastic people to deal with. Fantastic
Amazing.
people.
But just the standard of what was in there, like I've seen, we won't name the county now, but I've been working in tracking control at a rally in a cattle mart, and oh sweet lord, you wouldn't put the animals into it. Like, in fact, you wouldn't put the animals into it. But like this is, I don't know who owns that or who the proprietors, or is it a cooperative or?
Not sure.
But I'll tell you one thing, it's some spot, and like everything, the fueling area, perfect, brilliant. The trailer park behind the fueling area, everybody had a tarmac surface to work off of. The public could come in and they could park out the front. The park terminal was at the other side of the car park, and you would ring roads around it. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
A funny one actually about the marts itself. The original plan. I don't know. Did you, when you were upstairs in the mart, did you look into any of the auction rings? Yeah, that we were intentionally originally having the driver's briefing in one of those.
Go away.
Yeah. Could have been some cracker, right? Like it was like an amphitheater, but there was some
That'd be
problem
brilliant now
with
to
the
get the like
screens.
of Andrew Nesbitt down to introduce it in his auction.
Yeah.
And launch him in there for 5 minutes.
It was only the week before, 2 weeks before, we had to change it to here because there was some problem with they had work to do in it, and I knew it was only putting them under pressure to get it fixed. So I said, "Yeah, look, we'll leave it up." But it would have been a bit of a novelty, all right.
Absolutely. There'll be a couple of right bullocks, so you could wheel in the door there and raffle them off.
But you're right, though. It's a fabulous facility. But it's the people working there and the management, like they're superb to deal with. Like, I mean, we took over the complex for 4 days, effectively, like, and no issues whatsoever. We'd park farms set up on Thursday. We had the whole thing running on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again on Monday, then there was a crew in there cleaning it. Like, so, it's fabulous. Even direct sign on.
But you had everything but numbers.
Yeah.
I suppose we can't leave this show without discussing the last stage.
Oh, I'm having nightmares.
And normally now, as anyone would know, I normally have a pre-chat, but you see, I didn't think I was on with Kevin. I didn't think I was on with Kevin in black, like Kevin around. Here's what I don't understand. I know the answer, but by all means, if someone wants to add in, you have a historic competitor that goes off about 300 feet from the end of the last stage. Historic competitors running first in the road. Nice initiative to try. Can't see it being tried again. Nice idea. It sounded a great idea when I heard it. So this bike goes off. This is the bit now that most people that were chatting to me were just saying, this doesn't make sense. So you have a competitor and he goes off. To what extent, don't really know. The car didn't look too bad. And all the other competitors in the historic field get past him. And then all of a sudden, by either fucking divine inspiration or a gale force wind, the car is now blocking the road. And the double O can't get past. Ali is stopped. That makes no sense. So either the breeze blew the car 3 foot further, or it was moved. It ain't rocket science like that. But it didn't run afterwards, which it kind of ruined the rally. But I wouldn't worry about that because the people down the field experience those dilemmas every week with fellas crashing. But it was an awful end to something you had no control over.
It was very disappointing because we were all at the end of the stage and there was a big crowd there, obviously, because they were looking for, there was a 2.7 seconds between the two lads. And there was a big crowd there and there was fierce excitement and where the sun was shining and everything. And next thing we saw on the tracker, your man had gone off. It was like you could nearly hear, like it was up around the corner. It was 300 feet, like whatever happened, there was obviously some mechanical issue or whatever maybe caused it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And the road was blocked. I've done some small looking into it myself and I've got some footage and stuff. And the car was blocking the road, but there was a bit of a gap, all right, that the other competitors managed to get around. So whether they tried to move the car subsequently then to try and make it more clear, I don't know, but I think it exasperated the situation. And when the double O's came down, I think the road was completely blocked, like, and disaster really, but gutted about it really. Gutted for the competitors actually. And gutted for ourselves in the club, but more gutted for the competitors really. Like, as I suppose
There's only one word enters my head to someone that would do that. And I don't even know the competitor and I fucking care less. Selfish. There was an old thing when I started rallying, long time ago, back around the time of the Second World War, right? And the mentality was back then, sure, we'll get her cancelled. Fuck it, we'll get away with it. Them get on, boys. All you did was destroy the rally for 70 people. You were going to be excluded anyway for being OTL at that point in time. You were over your lateness, I'm sure.
I don't know what
happened. Itself. As I said, gale force wind or someone moved it. And then what really confused me, we went through in convoy. I'll tell you a great story about that in a minute. We went through in convoy after we'd been stopped at midpoint, and the car was out of the way.
I think the double O cars at that point had actually put a rope onto it or something and dragged it out of it or something like so. In fairness, like I spoke to the double O's and like who they were, their experienced competitors, like, and they said no, there was no way that the cars could have done past it. Like,
it takes both the double O boys in the track and yourself in a right situation. You had a situation, I don't know, does everybody know, but once the double O car goes beyond halfway on the stage, give or take, car one is gone. He's coming on at speed behind you.
He was on the stage,
yeah. You probably had two of them in the stage at low.
I think it was 3 or 4. I think were actually in the stage,
So you're not expecting this dilemma. 200 feet from the flying finish? Yeah, and you're going, right, okay, we have 5 or 6 minutes and we got to make a decision. Like, you 5 or 6 minutes, put the fucking car into gear and crank the key. It will move. There's only one wheel in it. It will move out of the road like a gap. But look.
It was a perfect storm, really. I suppose if there was any doubt about running the historics, and look, I still stand over the decision to try it because I do think there's an evolving category. And in fairness, it seemed to be getting great praise all weekend. And I suppose the one area that maybe could have caused a small issue was what happened. And looked, I'm sure the man didn't crash on purpose. So this is rallying, unfortunately, and I suppose he lost the win of the rally from the historic category as well because of it. Like, but
I said I didn't even know who it was. The only thing it's not the accident. I would have the issue. It's what afterwards.
Yeah, it's very.
Now 15 cars passing all of a sudden. No one can pass. Why? The car moved. So how did it move? The breeze or the driver? Choose your best option.
Can I just come in on something here? Like, it was completely shit for both Marion and Callum that ended like that. In particular, I suppose Marion who lost out as a result of it. But I suppose with the clubman hat on, then is it a tiny reminder of some of the disappointment that those further down the field do have to face on a more regular basis?
I know I certainly pointed it out to a few boys that were giving out yards because there was obviously a cancellation or an issue earlier in the day as well with the historic.
Yeah.
But I'm not even going to go there because that little car raised its head again. But the which was a funny story, not for tonight. And they were given out at the start of it. And remember, you can relate to them for a minute that they're giving out. The stage is cancelled because of a car, right? And I just said, let's think for a minute. You were experiencing today for the first time something that Car 100 is experiencing every fucking weekend he's out.
Yeah.
So don't go on that. Don't go down giving out about that because that happens to poor lads down the field every week. Because there's so many cars.
Very true, yeah.
So that finished that conversation.
Yeah, I know that's very true. Like, and I know one other competitor who had a similar conversation, and he made that point as well. And sure, look, there's no one wants to be blocking stages. That's just the nature of the game. Like, and it's unfortunate when it happens. Like, but it's just unfortunate it happened on the last one.
You're a matter of minutes away from this conversation not happening, and you'd be saying like, this is the way forward, and it was great to showcase the historics at the front. But because of this, then does your line of thought change on it, or?
Sure. Look, obviously we'll have a debrief in the club now next week, probably about the whole event. Like, and obviously that's going to come up. It was my concept originally, and I proposed to the club and they backed it. And in general,
it was universally popular at the time. I would have felt
it seemed to be popular. Yeah. And look, I still stand over. I think the historics are a fantastic growing category. I mean, the historic cars now are fantastic machines. Like, so look, we'll have a debriefing in the club. Like, it was only done on a trial basis anyway, because there was quite a lot of work went into actually getting it permitted, because there are certain rules in the book that had to be suspended just for the weekend and stuff. So it wasn't just a matter of deciding, oh, we'll run historics at the front. There was a lot of consultation, including with competitors, actually, international competitors and modified competitors. And in fairness, everyone, even the international competitors, were in favour of it, to be honest with you, and said, look, it's worth trying something new. I suppose the day you don't try something new is the day you're going backwards. We'll have to sit back and review it now. And look, it's just there was only one possible, I suppose, issue that could have arisen that could have affected the event, and unfortunately it happened. But listen, there's things happen every day of the week.
Here's a thought for you, and it's only when you sit down as a club to review it, and I'm not even going to get into the rule. If someone wants to look at it, go research it, right? The famous 10-minute rule, which still applies for double O's, and the now new 12-minute rule, which is there for the competitors, which is obviously, without getting too much into it, it's the amount of dead time you can have. If that rule, instead of being 10 and 12, was 15 and 15, in other words, you had 15 minutes, would it give you more? Well, it would, of course, but would it allow you to do it again, giving you a bit more breathing space? So, in other words, when the double O came on,
well, I suppose what for.
And I think you said, sorry for interrupting you, anything you said earlier about having maximum mileage, which I think is going to be a thing at the pass zone, and have slightly shorter stages.
Well, that's the point I was just going to make. That actually was the longest stage of the rally at 18.28 kilometers, I think. So by the time because the accident happened so late, as in literally in sight of the finish line, there was quite a lot of cars after starting. A lot of time, if a car went off in the stage, there might be only a few cars on the stage, but because of the length of the stage and the time duration, there was actually quite a number of them actually after entering the stage. So it was just a perfect set of circumstances that came a bit together in a bad way, really, and it was unfortunate. But I'm gutted for Mary and Callum, really, because look, who knows what would have transpired with the thing. There was a fierce battle and they were both going for it, so I'm really gutted for those guys, and I'm gutted for all the competitors that were sitting at the start line that, maybe go late today could have been done a bit differently. I don't know, but we hate to see stages lost. Like, in fairness, we don't tend to lose much stages. Even on Sunday morning, I went into the tracking room and I spoke to one of the tracking officials just to get a report on the previous days. And the comment back was, don't take offense, he said, but it was the most boring day I've ever spent in a tracker room because there was no activations. He said it was just, I think, three things they had to just check on the whole day in 132 kilometers of stages, which is incredible. Given the nature of the stages. Yeah, good. Yeah, sure. Saturday after the initial setback at the first stage where we were out with chainsaws cutting trees down, the day ran perfectly, really, to be honest. So look, these things happen. There'll be rallies, similar things will happen again. Another day, everything will run perfect. That's just the nature of the game, unfortunately.
There's a few comments, guys, that I might just read out, and if you want to pick up on anything, by all means do. Gary McAvoy said, well done, Eddie, in relation to Eddie Doherty on earlier. JJ Kremen asked John what the brakes were like on a horse. Yeah, I think we did actually get to that inadvertently a little bit earlier with John Doherty and Shane Barry, and well done again to lads. And please do click the iDonate link that should be underneath this thread here, live on Facebook and YouTube. Well done, Kevin and team from Daw Young. That's to you, Kev, not to me. Sean Cork, fantastic episode. This is quality viewing. Thanks a million, Sean. Thanks for all the hard work there recently too. Eddie Lenihan, chin up, Kevin. We spectated on Saturday and Marshall on the Sunday. It's not many rallies you can watch 4 stages, which you did on Saturday. Inch was unreal. Sunday was unlucky. Anthony SS11 lost over a few bails. Right, and I'll just finish the comments before you come in on anything there, because I can see the bear being poked a little bit. Christy Butler says the local competitors had McKilly 2 weeks before. It's a big ask for local competitors. So the date maybe and the issue. Today maybe the issue. Stages are perfect, service perfect. Paul Casey, Builders Holiday, and remember we've had a shocking summer, so a lot of people are aiming to go foreign at the moment. Rallying traditionally takes a break that weekend, and the competitors are creatures of habit. Also, this is no criticism, as I did the rally, but at the weekend and loved every mile. But the Cork 20 is usually associated with Macroom and the classics such as Fury, Lochalua, Kilnamarsh, etc. People were unsure what was on offer at the weekend, and it was brilliant. Now, the rest of that comment is just started disappearing on me. It just doesn't show properly in the interface, but I'll have a look on actual Facebook in a moment. And another one, is it not part of the SRS that competitors would only get 50% of their entry fee back if they withdraw within a certain time of the event starting? Sure, some events I've done do this. Okay, lots of comments read out. Anyone want to pick up on anything?
Yeah. I suppose on the entry refund, as a club, we just have a kind of we give full refunds. That's just our agenda. We don't penalize people for pulling out. That said, I can fully accept why we possibly should, and why events possibly other events should do. I mean, there's a guy calling to me here tomorrow with a box load of decals, road books, time cards that were all printed for, you know, a bigger field, which you had to commit to 3 weeks out from the event. Like, so yeah. But in general, look, we understand that people, if they don't, they have to pull out for various reasons, whatever they are, and we give full refunds. So there's never an issue like that.
Mm-hmm. Anthony, anything there with any of the rest of the comments?
Yeah. I think it's there'll always be circumstances where you have to pull out, and there will always be genuine reasons, and I suppose you look at them on a case by case basis. But a huge percentage of those people pulled out and entered other rallies. And I think that's wrong to be pulling out that late, because I know without getting into it, I know the entered other of them. It's not fair on the clubs. Like something Kevin didn't mention tonight. Again, it's very easy to work this out. What's an entry? I don't know. What's an entry fee now? €1,000?
11.95.
11.95. Right, but even set £1,200, and you had what, 70 cars?
72 main field, yeah.
What's your income? 80, 100 grand, 7 times 1,000. You'll be 80 odd thousand. You wouldn't run a national rally for it, lads. You don't need to be a mathematician to say you're after sinking for 20 or 30 grand here.
Yeah, the figures won't be good. Yeah.
Out, but if you look at the simple maths of running an event, rounded at €1,000 on 70 cars, 70 odd thousand, you wouldn't run a one-day national rally. You need probably 90 grand to run a national rally now. You need each plus another half. I've never seen the budget for international, but I'd say 140, 150. You are well short of what you needed here, and that's something that people and other competitors keep in mind. The club goes burst, you ain't got no more rally. There is, you can't continue to sustain that without bailout. Like, there'll be no Fianna Fáil tent and Galway races here. Bailout in the old historical. I'm preaching to an older age group now with the brown envelope, like with all the sport that went on back then. But it's just something to factor in mind to anybody out there pulling at the last minute. Of course, there'll be a case where something happens, and as I said, on a case by case basis. But to do it so late for the old story, Asher, the car isn't ready. Yeah, right. That's probably a pride 10%.
One last thing I wanted to ask you, Anthony. I got an email in saying, great to see, or glad to see the live podcast back. With large reserve lists for all national tower rallies and the inclusion of Class 16 in the main field, getting all 9 stages rather than running as a separate rally, an issue might arise. Your listeners, contributors might know, is there still a quota allocation of 15 to 20 juniors to seeding, i.e. guaranteed entry, like there was when juniors ran as a separate rally years ago? It wouldn't be good to see new juniors left in the reserve list on the National Tournament Championship. Any insight on that?
I'm not actually sure. With regards to national rallies, I know on the internationals they're guaranteed up to 25 juniors are guaranteed an entry on the second day, obviously. I'm not sure what the criteria is for the national events. Not too sure.
I had an input recently on seeding for 2 national rallies, and it was never given to me as a criteria. That's not to say it wasn't sorted afterwards, because I just give the clubs back a draft of what would be based on results. But certainly Class 16 and juniors in general were just in the mix the same as everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Fair enough.
The interesting one of the comments there, I know it's Paul Case made it about the Macroom stages and the Lochaluas. That's interesting actually, because the rally is possibly going back there next year. Like we're still in the thinking phase, but it's interesting. Yeah, we'll see. Look, it's that was the initial thought 6 months ago. Like, but we've had such feedback now from this weekend. It's maybe a rethink. But anyway, there's one particular person there, and nameless, and we've heard this plenty of times. Oh, if you go back down to Macroom, you'll fill the rally and the whole lot and run all the classics, and they are classics. Like the stages down in Macroom are class stages. And I keep referring back whenever people say this to me. I said, yeah, you're right. They are classic stages. But I said one of the previous COCs before me, a couple of years ago, he based the whole rally in Macroom, ran all the classics, 16 stages, and he started 82 cars. And it was interesting. On Sunday morning at about 7:15 in the morning, my phone rang from someone in the sport who was at the rally, and he was ringing to apologize to me, to say that he's been badgering me for the last 3 years that you're running in the wrong area and you should be down in Macroom, and I don't disagree with it. And he said, I'm ringing to apologize. He said, because you need to stay where you are now. He said the stages are class. So you can never do right and wrong, really. You can't please everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, the Macroom stages are the class stages. Obviously, the Lochaluas and the Killamartyrs, and they are fantastic stages. Like so, but
yeah,
I don't think that's the only fix either.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's an honest opinion. Opinion.
But the service, the standard of what you had the weekend, you could move an RP. Yes, I would much rather personally the stages up there, but the service area that you have is going to be very hard to walk away.
Very, very hard to walk away from. Yeah, very hard to walk away from. I've even thought about that, because there's other stages we run over towards the Mallow area, Malcarty's now, and a few things like that. And you could possibly work them into the service area we have in Rathcormac by getting a stage in between or something similar to what I did on Saturday with the Inch stage. It's a very long road section out, so I got that short stage in Corriglass to break the journey out, and so you're rallying out and rallying back. So you might be able to look at doing something like that maybe. There most surely some stage territory there that we could pick between the service and those locations. So look, that's all for another day. Like, so we'll put the thinking hat on there now shortly and see when we're running it first.
Do it again next year. I just knew you'd do it again.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Well, before we finish up,
I've a lot of them down now. It's nearly time to start rowing back.
I think you've done a fantastic job, Kevin. Fairness, and a lot more to offer. Obviously, we got our hands on this, and he's going to kill me now for putting this up on the screen. But
where did you got that less than an hour ago from the photographer?
I can't confirm or deny where this came from.
So how the hell did you get this? I didn't even share it to anyone yet. Actually, I did to Kevin O'Riordan, got it, but I say it was on the podcast at the time.
Yeah, well, Kevin didn't send it to me, so we won't say any more. But Anthony, just say well done on what you did a number of months back with the Greenman Motorsport Bonanza. I know there was a lot of knockers and doubters maybe at the time and thinking that you wouldn't be able to pull it off, but like you can see the check there, 27.5 grand for the benevolent fund, and I believe another couple of donations elsewhere too. So to yourself and all the team, well done and congratulations. Fair play.
Bought a very famous TV program. The rest of that money is resting in my account.
I don't know, but look, in all seriousness,
just in case you win the show now and people think that was the last comment, I better finish on it. So yeah, I didn't even get to study that picture. So basically what you're looking at there is when we had spoke to like Frank and Lauren and Keith and David Guest and JJ and Tommy Randalls, of course, we had Michael Healy, Hazel. They were all on the day. They were competing on the day. Actually, a little known fact, only the spectators knew this. All that money was collected by one man. He's there on the camera. Kevin O'Riordan was the man. The money. And the reason I want to give the explanation is because Kevin, as well as I know, we collected a hell of a lot more than that. Because Kevin said, Jesus, where's the rest of it? So basically, we ended up with well in excess of €40,000.
Mm-hmm.
We have kept back a reasonable amount, close on 10 grand to float it next year, because I floated it this year on my credit card, and I ain't doing it again because I'll be divorced. It cost 42,000 to run it, and what we're doing is we're handing over 38 and keeping 8 or 10 back just to float at the next run. So of that 38,000, then it's 27 and a half. I'm fucking right, you know, because I wasn't expecting you to show that or even have it. 27 and a half to the benevolent fund, who were the main, who we were doing it for. And then we have, that's 27 and a half and 38, 10 and a half. So we have 10 and a half thousand then to divide up between the 3 charities we had on the day, which was the Little Blue Heroes, Limerick Animal Welfare, and Limerick Suicide Watch. None of which have been told they were getting it, but they know now. Because they were doing their own collections on the day. Excuse me, they were doing their own collections on the day, but we felt that because we went over what we were targeted to collect, that we divide up what was remaining to the local charities. So they'll be getting a contribution from ourselves that they weren't expecting. And hopefully we'll rock on and go bigger and better next year. Like, so we'll get hopefully we'll get a date. We don't care what date. Once the sun shines, we're not bothered. But we'll get a date. It doesn't affect rallies or anything. Doesn't affect it. It's a standalone thing. Like, so. But I just seen as we're on a public forum, I want to thank Ed and Harper, because Motorsport Ireland through Ed and Harper covered the cost of our insurance.
Very good.
No, it wasn't as simple as that. Like, we had to reach a certain target of collection and so on and so forth, which is fine, and rightly so. But I want to thank them there for that, because every little help they waived fees and all sorts of bits and pieces, just purely because of what it was for. It was for the competitive benevolent fund. It would surprise me actually the amount of people that don't know what the competitive benevolent fund is. It would shock me. It was amazing. Something, maybe an ad for a program sometime. I know it's in the Green Book, but no one reads that until we're in trouble.
To be fair to you, Anthony, and to all the organisers of that, like, I mean, you go on about the amount of organising in a rally, which is immense, and it's mad amount of organising. He put some time into organising that event.
But the advantage of that event, Kevin, compared to other events, was we had all the time in the world. As in, we'd no deadlines. We knew a year in advance. This is what we want to do, and sure, let's rock on and see what happens. Like, and the list of moving on the day. Let's see, whereas your event, there's so many moving parts. Ours looked huge, but there was very little moving parts. The public getting them parked. The sprint was run by 2 motor clubs, Limerick and Cork, as a joint effort, which I think future of motorsport in Ireland anyway. Shorter stages and clubs buddying up together, because with the lack of marshals, with shorter stages will help, and with the clubs buddying up together, and especially with a lot of clubs doing a year in, year out, not necessarily Munster club, but with clubs doing year in, year out through the national, which seems to be working. That Limerick can say, we'll just be Kerry, like that Limerick would help Kerry and jointly put their officials and run Kerry this year, and then when Kerry is out next year, everyone come and run Limerick, and vice versa and so on, like a buddy system. But we were happy with today. Something we hadn't tried before.
There was some amount of cars queued to come into that. I'd say they didn't stop for 5 hours when we opened the gates.
I got that. I'll tell you one good story about it. I was introduced, and Tommy Command, if he's on, he's going to strangle me. And the man who was involved, if I get his title wrong, which I probably am going to, I'll be shot. But sure, it is. As I said, I didn't know you were going to bring this up. I think he's third in command in the Gardaí, right? He's he's not the commissioner, he's the commissioner or the assistant commissioner, and he's there or thereabouts. He's in the top tier anyway, right? But he introduced me to this lovely man who we got out in a rally car just to experience it. And he introduced me to him. And I just remember passing a remark at one point that, look here, I have a small problem that's actually below your pay grade. It's so seldom you can say that to anybody. This is below his pay grade. We've traffic back onto the motorway below. What am I going to do? I was coming out of the race course, down onto the motor. It's about 2 kilometers long. We got somewhere. It's hard with the way we did the whole ticketing, and with the amount of cash taken on the day and card payments in the day. But including vendors, we had just over 5,500 people in. So we were very happy with that.
And so you should be, boss. And so you should be. So look, On that note, guys, I want to say thanks to both of you for coming on this evening. Well done, Kevin, and well done, Anthony. And we'll chat to you again soon. All right. Thanks, lads.
Keep up the good work, Kevin.
There we go. Anthony Esther, Kevin O'Riordan. And thanks to our sponsors, PFT Travel, Tech and Tools, Rally Connection, SVS Productions, Hire Van, and Lines of Limerick. Thanks to everyone for commenting in as well. We've had plenty of those. There's some I actually didn't even get to, so apologies for that. We're just out of time for this evening. If you have anything to say to us, irishrallypodcast@gmail.com is our email address, and you can drop us a DM at Irish Rally Pod on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter as well. So until next time, take care.